we're going to take this pulley right here, and then we are going to, wow, that really removes a lot of stuff, but we're going to take this pulley right here, and we're going to see how it fits here. Well, that's not going to work.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Welcome to a new episode of Sam's Garage. First up, we're giving the Summit Racing Bandit project a serious rear-end overhaul, upgrading the axle and differential to get ready for a 5-speed TKX setup. Then we turn to our Holley OBS 454, where we tame the big block with a front-runner system built for strength and simplicity. Today, we're highlighting a serious sideways machine, Derek Carter's LS Swap 240SX drift car. And finally, we bring back Jeff's 94 Mustang for a round of maintenance and repair to keep this 25-year-old street fighter rolling strong. We're giving the Bandit a serious performance boost by rebuilding the rear end with a 30-spline axle and a torsion-style differential. It's all part of prepping for the new 5-speed TKX swap. More gears, more grunt, and more fun.
So this week on Sam's Garage, we're going to be working on our Summit Racing Bandit project by upgrading the rear end. I went to Ron's machining service and I got a couple different options here. We're going to go with a 30-spline axle. So we have a true track torsion style differential here and a clutch style differential here. Now this is adapting an 8.5 housing into an 8.6. The bearing kit that you need is going to be supplied as well. This is the master kit. This is the installation kit that's going to give us everything we need to make everything in that housing new. Now, in this particular application, we're going to go with the torsion style because it's a lot stronger. It's going to be a little bit louder when going around corners, but then I don't have to worry about the smell of the additive on that one. All right, so let's get this installed.
Sounds good.
So what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild this differential, right? And there's only a little bit of room here. Since we're going to be replacing the fuel tank with a new EFI one from Summit,
take it out.
Go ahead and take it out now. Gives us plenty of room to work in there.
That makes sense.
So check this out, guys. The pin that holds the big pin in place broke. It could have made for a bad day, but a little bit of cutting and an air hammer, and we got it out. That's nice. Before I take apart the factory stuff, I like to see where I'm at. So I'll take my pinion, and I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna see what my drag is. That way I know what the drag is. I can record it. It should be between 16 and 18 inch-pounds. When it comes to your pinion, you want to match the shims that are in between the pinion and the bearing here. I have already replaced the seal and the bearing. I'm gonna put this guy in through the front. I'm gonna put the pinion on. So there's 3 important measurements you guys need to be aware of to keep everything quiet and working smoothly. One of them is going to be backlash. I measured the backlash before I took everything apart. We were between 10 and 11, and that's where we want to remain. The second one is going to be your drag. You want 15 to 16 inch-pounds of drag, which means you're going to move this, and when the actual pinion spins, you're going to read the numbers and see where you are. And then the third measurement is going to be the paint. You want to put some paint on about 3 or 4 teeth. Now, you're going to want resistance so that that tooth will grind into that paint and give you a pattern. So you can barely see it, but you can see the pattern on the tooth. And it's a very good pattern. It covers the entire tooth. I got my backlash. Everything should be good. Now, we went from a 342 to a 373 because we're going from the 4-speed manual that was in the car to a 5-speed TKX. So that way we're able to utilize a lower gear, making it quicker off the line. Well, that's a big job. but well worth the upgrades once you're done. Now, I love Ron's machining service because they've got all the parts you need to completely overhaul and rebuild your factory OEM rear end and upgrade it like we just did.
Yeah, that was not an easy job. Luckily for me, my responsibility was just holding the flashlight, but I learned a lot watching you do this. And I will say, while all the parts are really high quality and they come packaged really nicely, know what you're getting into before you start this job, because once you get into all those different gears and shims, and there's a lot to it.
And then I'm not putting the cover back on or my Amsoil gear loop because I'm going to be putting a set of Willwood brakes in the rear. So I got to take my C-clips back off, remove the axles, put everything on, then I can go in and complete it all.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Today, we're dialing in the front runner system on the Holley OBS 454 project. With 6 solid mounting points and a compact design, it's tidy, it's tough, and it's built to keep the belts where they belong, on the pulleys, not the highway.
So this week on our Holley OBS 454 project, we're going to install the front runner system, and I've got a nice, reliable one because we have 6 points that this thing's going to mount to the front of the engine. And this mid unit right here is going to house the compressor, the alternator, the water pump is serviceable, and the power steering pump. The cool thing about this pump is a Gen 2 GM pump with the reservoir attached to it, takes out one variable, makes it a lot easier to install. This kit comes with everything we need, including the hardware, the belt, the plug for the alternator, and a tensioner that's not going to put too much tension on it, making that belt squeak. The first thing I did was made sure I had new water pump gaskets, comes with the kits, everything is in there. I went ahead and installed the pulley on the harmonic balancer. I'm working my way from the bottom up. Go ahead and remove the factory bolt. They're going to provide you with a longer bolt, along with the 3 bolts that holds the pulley to the harmonic balancer, and then the crankshaft. Once that's installed, I went ahead and installed the water pump base. It's going to use the same holes as the water pump, along with 2 bigger 7/16 bolts on the block themselves. That's 6 bolts total. That's going to go ahead and house the alternator and the AC compressor along with the power steering pump. Then there are 3 holes on this housing, all for heater hoses and or an ECT sensor or a fan switch. I'm going to use 2 of the 3 holes, the one on the very bottom for the 1/2-inch heater hose, then the one on top for the 5/8 heater hose, and I went ahead and plugged the other one because the manifold has all the provisions I need for the ECT sensors. So now all I got to do is when I install the cooling system is run a couple of heater hoses to those points and I should be good to go. What I went ahead and did next was put on the power steering pump and the water pump. They're completely installed, but before you install that power steering pump, make sure to read the instructions because in it comes a high pressure relocation hose that's metal that you have to install before you put the pump in place. So install that, put the pump in place, water pump's in place. I went ahead and installed my alternator before I pressed on the pulley for the power steering pump, just because sometimes you have interference. So just to make sure I have no interference, I went ahead and installed the alternator. Then I went ahead and installed the tensioner and the AC compressor. Now the housing has slots so you could slide your AC compressor with the hardware in and out of its place. My valve covers got in the way, so all I did was loosen the passenger valve cover, lift it up a little just to get the hardware in on the left side of the compressor. Went ahead and installed it, put my serpentine belt on, everything's good to go. The final thing I did was make myself a new power steering pressure hose. I got a kit from Summit, went ahead and installed it. Then I got really lucky in this case because the reservoir is attached to the power steering pump. It's right there next to the steering box, so I was able to utilize the factory return hose, modifying a little bit, cutting it, bending it, putting it right in place so the power steering system is complete as well. This puts a period on the front runner system. Don't forget, guys, to put the belt jacket in the vehicle so that these guys know what belt number they need in case something happens on the road. Now, anytime I'm putting a vehicle together, I make sure to check out all the parts, and I'm going to go with the one that's going to be most reliable. In this particular case, that front runner system from Holley knocks it out the park. Everything's right there, compact, in the middle, one belt, nothing's going to move. Some of these big blocks have a lot of problems with flinging off belts. In this case, we should be good to go with 6 mounting points. So the next thing we're going to do is going to be to attack the cooling system. That way we can go ahead and get our heater hoses, everything installed, and after that we'll go ahead and do the fuel injection. Back in the mid-'80s when Radio Shack existed, I was in love with the Audi all-road remote control car. That's what got me into motorsports. It first started with one of these powered vehicles, like you see my little Savoy Bug right there, and then the Hot Wheels. All right, these are old school collections. You can purchase everything you see here at Summit Racing. It's not just about older gearheads building motors and fast cars. You youngsters out there, you need to go to Summit Racing and check out something like this, the evolution of the remote controlled RC car. Used to be battery operated, they would last 5 minutes, and then we went to nitromethane, they would last a lot longer, but they weren't very durable. This thing's probably gonna do close to 100 miles an hour. It comes with accessories where you can customize it. It comes with a bag of tools where you can work on it. It comes with all the stickers so you can customize it. And you can get everything you see here at Summit Racing. If you want to get started into motorsports, this is where you need to start. Then you're going to move up to a big car, right?
Yeah, you know, not only that, Summit Racing actually has a lot of toys for kids. If you've got a child or a grandchild that's interested in cars, they've got little workbenches and stuff too that's really cute.
Welcome back to more Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Today, we're highlighting a serious sideways machine, Derek Carter's LS Swap 240SX drift car. Built to shred with WiseFab suspension, a Tremec T56, and enough angle to park sideways in a straight line.
Derek Carter in the studio today. We've got his drift car. It's represented by NOPI Motorsports. Thank you for coming on board, by the way.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us about your car.
All right, so what we have here is a 95 Nissan 240 S14. This is our competition drift car that we've been building. LS powered, T56, and converted to a 350Z rear diff.
So I'm looking at the back. This damage occurred at the February show, the event that we had at Linear Raceway. You guys will check that out in July on the Low Car Show. I see fiberglass back here.
Yes, sir. So this car, it's basically cut off right here. And we have what's called a 2F Performance rear quarters, and it has the taillight buckets and everything made into it. So when you damage these cars, you can just unbolt this, bolt a new quarter on. It has your buckets made in it and everything, so it makes repairs easy.
Now, what does it require in modifications for you guys to get that angle in the steering?
So there's different ways to go about it. If you're on a budget, you can modify your original knuckles, and you're basically the tie rod end, you're gonna move it closer to the spindle. And what that does is when you turn, it changes that pivot point, creates more angle. And then once you start competing, you get into what's called a WiseFab or FDF. And this car has a WiseFab on the front of it. And this one's a version 1. And we also have a WiseFab on the rear. With drifting, you know, sometimes people think we're on a special tire or we don't want a lot of grip, we're just sliding around. It's not like that at all. We're chasing grip. It's all about getting the most grip you can get.
Really?
Yes, it's a battle between grip and horsepower. So many different ways you can approach it. I personally run a 240 because I like the way they look.
Yeah,
They just make the best looking drift car to me. And the 240 is kind of becoming a car that's getting more expensive.
Absolutely.
Because they're getting kind of used up.
Yep. I mean, just a shell today, if you wanted to get the 240 shell or even an EG hatch shell, it's 10 grand.
I know,
it's crazy,
yeah,
right?
It's crazy.
So this thing does have an LS engine in it, makes about 500 to 600 horsepower. It's stroked out to a 383. It's got a GTO Tremec behind it. So if you guys are making this kind of horsepower, most people out there are using the Tremec transmissions, whether it be TKX 5-speed with a 31 spline axle output shaft, along with 750 foot-pounds of torque capability. The T56 that we're giving from Tremec to Derek is the same. It's a GTO transmission because the first gear is a little bit shorter. So it makes for a better race car, and that was the last one Tremec had in their arsenal. So I want to thank you very much for giving that to us for Derek. We also have a bell housing just in case he twists one and breaks one. We got a bell housing for him as well. And then Falcon came on board through Tire Distributors of Georgia and supplied Derek with 4 Azini 265/35/18s to drift with. Now, in our last event, it was wet, so you guys were able to run the whole day on one set of tires.
On one set of tires.
And I bet it was fun. Falcon used to be a sponsor of NOPI back in the day. I'm glad they came back on. If you guys are a commercial facility here in Georgia, check out Tire Distributors of Georgia. They do an awesome job. They've got the inventory you need along with the prices and the customer service. And I want to thank Tremec. Tremec is the best when it comes to rear-wheel drive transmissions, whether it be a 5-speed T5 TKX or a T56. And you guys, you want to check out NOPI. Nationals are coming September 13th, 14th at our home in Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is now Echo Park. And you can check out the February event that we had at Lanier Raceway. It's going to be in July on the Low Car Car Show. NOPI Motorsports, we're back.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NHOU. Today, we're reviving a legend, Jeff's 1994 Mustang, built 25 years ago and still kicking. It rolled in with a vacuum leak, a tired brake booster, and a shifter setup that said no thanks to second, fourth, and reverse.
Today we have Pepper, our new little puppy, in the shop along with Jeff's 1990 Ford Mustang. Do you remember this from 2000?
I do remember it. It actually looks a lot better than it did the last time it showed up here.
So 25 years ago, we built this car, okay? And Jeff brought it back to me in 2020 to have it rebuilt. And now it's here for a little bit of maintenance. We got a vacuum leak. 2 fourth and reverse is gone in the transmission. So we went to Tremec, got a T5. We're gonna put this thing back together, put it back on the road for another few years until his next oil change. And I'm gonna have Pepper do all the work.
We're just gonna keep her out of the mess.
So Jeff's Mustang comes in with a high idle. A high idle or a surging idle usually means that it's a vacuum leak. Now, a lot of the newer cars in the last 15, 20 years, they don't have vacuum operated solenoids anymore. So the only thing, if there is a vacuum source, is gonna be for the brake booster. In our case, it's old school, 35 years old. We have a lot of stuff running off vacuum. So when he came in, I had put 2 caps on the distribution block on this car 5 years ago. Those caps, I showed you guys, get dry rotted. It's very important that when you guys are doing routine maintenance every year, you look at those caps. If you see any cracking, go ahead and replace them. So I went ahead and replaced them, got rid of the vacuum leak, but then we also had a brake booster problem, hard brakes. And on the inside of the car, when the car was running and you apply the brake pedal, you can hear the hissing noise going in on the inside of the cab, which tells you the diaphragm inside the booster is bad, and you got vacuum leaking from the engine through the brake booster. Went ahead and replaced it. It was original to the car. Everything else was smooth. Everything went cool. The brake master cylinder works just fine. Moved it out of the way, fished the brake booster out, put the new one in. The only hard part is getting on your back and getting up underneath the dashboard to get to the hardware. This car also has a problem with the transmission. No second, fourth, and reverse. Went ahead and took out the transmission. Now, fourth and reverse, we lost for another reason. This thing's always lost second gear. It's been 5 years, it's had no second gear. But fourth and reverse, the reason why it went away is because if you looked at the jam nut and the screw, which is the limiter screw on the aftermarket short shifter, it had backed off and the screw had pushed itself towards the shifter itself. So that when you're pushing the shifter down into the gear, the screw was actually stopping it from going into gear. So it's very important that you guys adjust those accordingly, make sure that when it's in gear, that the screw head just touches the rod, then double nut it. That way you know that the nut's not gonna come off and they'll stay put. You won't have an issue going down the road thinking your transmission's bad when really it's just a simple screw adjustment. Went ahead and replaced the transmission. We got second gear back, put everything fresh, put a new clutch in it. Everything is good. This thing's ready to go back to Jeff. We went ahead and changed the oil, went with synthetic 5W30 AMSOIL, went ahead and went with synthetic ATF for the transmission from AMSOIL. It should last a long time. I shouldn't see this car for at least another 5 years. Now, when you guys are working with something that's 35 years old like this Ford Mustang, make sure that when you're doing your maintenance to keep your eyes open for anything else that may be hitting you in the face, like the rear hangers on the mufflers, completely dry rotted and cracked. Went ahead and got new ones. We want to go ahead and install them. If those hangers were to fail, the mufflers are going to fall because you only got the 2 hangers in the back and what's connected to the headers. Now, you guys, this motorsports game we play, it's not just about customization and performance. You do have to maintenance your vehicles so you can enjoy them. That's why he's had this now for 25 years.
That's really the most important part. It doesn't matter if you have just a stock vehicle or you've got something with a lot of modifications, but if you don't maintenance it, you're going to lose it. So it's really the most important aspect.
Protect that investment.
Be sure to check out Sam's Garage on these other media platforms. Send us questions and feedback to info@samsgaragetv.com. From rebuilding rear ends to refreshing classics, it's been a full day in the garage. The Bandit's stronger, the 454's cleaner, and Jeff's Mustang is shifting like it should. Thanks for watching Sam's Garage, where maintenance meets muscle and every project drives a story forward.